Today, we are doing something that every single Boys fan has been waiting for, breaking down the brand new Season 5 finale promo, frame by frame, piece by piece, moment by moment, because Amazon just dropped new footage for Episode 8, and there is a lot hiding inside it that most people are going to miss on a first watch. This is the final episode of The Boys, ever. The last time we are going to sit down and watch these characters fight, bleed, and try to bring down the most powerful and terrifying being on the planet. So every single frame of this promo matters. Every joke, every image, every piece of dialogue they chose to include is there for a reason. And today at the Cinemaverse studio, we are going to find every single one of those reasons and tell you exactly what they mean for the finale. Grab something to drink, get comfortable, and let us get into it. Before we even get into the footage itself, we need to talk about the title of the Episode 8 because it is not random and it is not decorative. Episode 8 of Season 5 is called Blood and Bone, and if you have been watching this show long enough, those words should immediately take you back to one of the most chilling conversations in the entire series, the exchange between Homelander and Butcher, where both men essentially committed to a mutual destruction pact. Scorched earth, shock and awe, blood and bone. The idea that these two men were always going to end each other, that there was never going to be a peaceful resolution, never going to be a courtroom, never going to be a negotiation, just two forces on a collision course that was set the moment they first laid eyes on each other. The writers chose that title deliberately and specifically. They are telling you before a single frame of footage runs that this finale is going to honor that promise. Whatever happens in Episode 8, it is going to be built around the collision of Butcher and Homelander. Everything else, Kimiko, Sister Sage, The Deep, Ashley, Ryan, all of it exists in orbit around that central gravitational pull. And Blood and Bone is the show planting its flag and saying we have not forgotten what this story was always about. The promo opens with what appears to be the boys gathering somewhere to recommit to the plan, and the timing of this matters enormously. This is happening immediately after Frenchie's death. The grief is fresh. The wound has not had a single moment to begin healing. And rather than retreating, rather than falling apart under the weight of losing someone they loved, the boys are choosing to move forward. They are choosing to make Frenchie's sacrifice mean something rather than simply mourn it. This opening sequence tells us something important about the emotional architecture of the finale. The show is not going to spend 20 minutes wallowing in grief before the action begins. The grief is going to be the fuel. Every person in that room who watched Homelander kill Frenchie is walking into this final confrontation carrying that loss directly, and it is going to shape every decision they make and every risk they are willing to take. Loss in The Boys has always been a motivator, but this particular loss, coming this close to the end, carries a weight that none of the previous ones did. The promo also works in the show's signature fake commercial style, which honestly tells you something reassuring about the tone they are going for. Even in its final episode, The Boys has not abandoned the dark satirical humor that made it special from the very beginning. The fake advertisements, the corporate propaganda, the Vought-branded absurdity layered over genuine horror, that combination is the DNA of this show, and the fact that it is present in the finale promo suggests the creative team has not panicked and tried to turn it into something it was never supposed to be. Here is the part that matters most strategically for understanding what the finale is actually going to look like. The promo strongly suggests that the plan Sage and Frenchie built together, using Kimiko as the weapon to strip V1 from Homelander's system, is going to be executed. And there are very good reasons to believe it is going to work, at least partially. Think about why the show spent so much time in Episode 7 building that specific plan. Think about what Frenchie's death cost and what it produced. He gave his life standing between Homelander and the people he loved, buying the time the weapon needed to be completed, protecting Kimiko inside that zinc crawlspace. The show does not do that, does not build that moment with that level of emotional precision, only to throw it away in the finale by having the weapon fail completely. Frenchie's sacrifice has to mean something. The narrative demands it. The emotional contract the show made with its audience in that final scene demands it. So the most likely scenario is that Kimiko's new ability, the replicated version of Soldier Boy's nuclear depowering radiation, successfully strips the V1 from Homelander's system to some meaningful degree. Whether it fully neutralizes
neutralizes him or only partially weakens him before something else goes wrong is where it gets interesting, because this is The Boys, and plans never unfold cleanly in this universe. What happens after Kimiko deploys that power is where the real finale drama lives. If Homelander is fully stripped of his abilities, you are looking at one of two endings. Either he dies in that weakened state, finally mortal and finally vulnerable, or he is forced to live without the power that has defined his entire existence. Both are fascinating options, and both have been discussed extensively. But there is a practical argument forming that simply depowering him and letting him live creates too many unresolved problems. A powerless Homelander could theoretically take V1 again. He could rebuild. He could wait. The only way to truly close the chapter is to make sure he cannot come back. And that means the finale is probably heading toward his death rather than his imprisonment.
This is the storyline that the Cinemaverse studio believes is going to produce the most visually spectacular and emotionally significant sequence in the entire finale, and the promo footage points directly toward it. The big Easter celebration that Father had been preparing is still happening. The plan to unveil Homelander as God to the world, broadcast live with songs and performances and all the pageantry of a religious event, is still moving forward. But here is the problem. The focus testing groups already revealed the truth that Homelander cannot accept. The vast majority of people simply do not believe he is a god. They might fear him. They might follow him out of self-preservation, but genuine belief, the kind that Homelander craves in the deepest and most broken part of himself, is not there. It has never been there in the numbers he needs, and the psychic soups he deployed to test people's genuine feelings confirmed it beyond any possible denial. So imagine the sequence that is building: a live television broadcast, millions of people watching, Homelander on stage being presented as the divine ruler of humanity. The cameras are rolling. The entire world is watching, and he can see or sense or simply feel with every instinct he possesses that the people in that room and the people watching at home do not truly believe. They are performing belief out of terror, and performance is not enough anymore. Cast your mind back to the very beginning of the season. Episode 1. Homelander in front of a crowd beginning to laser people before Sage physically stopped him and pulled him back from the edge. Sage talked him down. Sage managed him. Sage was the one person in his entire orbit with the intelligence and the tactical awareness to prevent him from doing something catastrophic at the worst possible moment. Sage is gone now. She switched sides. Every other moderating influence in Homelander's life has been removed, fired, killed, or driven away by his own behavior. There is nobody left to say no. There is nobody left to tell him to come back when he starts to lose it. And when that live broadcast reveals the truth about how little genuine belief exists in the world he is trying to rule, the response is going to be catastrophic. He is going to laser people on live television, in front of the entire world. And that moment, that single uncontrollable eruption of violence broadcast globally, is what finally and irreversibly turns the public against him. The supporters who followed him, the people who wore his merchandise and defended him online and believed that he represented something, are going to watch him murder innocent people in real time, and they are going to understand what they actually gave their loyalty to. This is the empire crumbling. Not through a military defeat or a political maneuver, but through Homelander's own inability to tolerate being seen clearly. His greatest weapon was always the performance. The moment the performance breaks, everything built on top of it breaks with it. The promo raises questions about several characters whose final positions in the story remain genuinely unclear, and the Cinemaverse studio wants to address each of them honestly. Ryan has been mostly absent from the second half of this season in any meaningful capacity, but there is almost no chance the finale leaves him out completely. His relationship with Homelander, and specifically the moment Homelander physically attacked him earlier this season, is unresolved in a way that the finale needs to address. The most compelling version of the endgame involves Ryan being present when Homelander is at his most vulnerable and powerless, witnessing the man who claimed to love him reduced to something frightened and small. Whether Ryan is the one who makes the final choice in that moment or simply witnesses it, his presence is necessary for the scene to carry the weight it needs. Soldier Boy is the most complicated wildcard remaining. He was placed back in the cryo chamber at the end of episode 7, and everything about how that was handled suggested the show is protecting him for the Jensen Ackles prequel series, Vought Rising. Killing him in the finale would close that door permanently. However, leaving him completely absent from the final episode of the main series would feel like an unfinished thread, given how much of Season 5 was built around his dynamic with Homelander. The most likely outcome is that he appears in some capacity, possibly a post-credits scene, that simultaneously serves as a tease for what Vought Rising is going to explore. But do not expect him to be the one to deliver the killing blow. That story belongs to other people.
The Deep's finale is not a mystery at this point, and the promo does nothing to suggest otherwise. He has been abandoned by Homelander, rejected by the ocean, filmed refusing to save a drowning person, and left without a single ally or purpose remaining. The character has spent 5 seasons making every wrong choice available to him, declining every opportunity for genuine growth, and actively becoming a worse person with each passing episode. The show is almost certainly going to kill him, and the manner of his death is likely to carry a dark irony that fits perfectly with how The Boys handles characters who never found their way toward redemption. The sea creatures he betrayed represent the most poetic option, being taken down by the living things he was supposed to protect and champion, but consistently sacrificed for his own comfort and ambition. Chase Crawford has genuinely been excellent in this role throughout the series, particularly in the comedic register the character often required. But there is no version of this story where the Deep survives, and that outcome feels earned or satisfying.
Ashley Barrett has defied every expectation by making it this far. She said it herself in episode 7. Nobody would have believed at the beginning of this that she would end up in the White House. Her survival instinct has been the most reliable constant in the show's entire run. But being the de facto president of the United States following Homelander's murder of President Calhoun is not a position that comes with any real security, and the finale is going to force her to finally make choices that are genuinely her own, rather than calculated moves for self-preservation. The promo hints at Ashley navigating the chaos of Homelander's complete unraveling from within the governmental structure she accidentally finds herself controlling. Whether she lives or dies may ultimately depend on whether the show decides her survival is the punchline or whether her death is the sacrifice that means something. The odds still favor her making it out, carrying the absurdity of her impossible journey all the way to the final frame. Stan Edgar's survival seems almost certain, and his parting statement about there always being something to replace what falls feels like a promise rather than an observation. He is going to retake control of Vought in whatever form it exists after Homelander is removed from the equation, and he is going to begin quietly rebuilding the machine from the ground up. The monster is not Vought or the soups it creates. The monster is the system that produces them, and Stan Edgar is the system wearing a very expensive suit.
This finale is 1 hour and 5 minutes long. That is not nothing, but it is also not the supersized 2-hour conclusion that many fans were hoping for, given the sheer number of threads that need resolution. Eric Kripke himself has suggested that the ending is going to be messy, in the way that real life is messy, which is both a genuine creative philosophy and a gentle warning that not everything is going to be wrapped up with the bow that audiences typically expect from a series finale. There will be things the finale does not address, plot threads that disappear without explicit resolution, questions that remain unanswered, budget limitations that mean certain sequences will not be as visually spectacular as the comic panels that inspired them. The promo imagery of Butcher approaching the White House with Homelander and flying soups above is a direct reference to the iconic final arc of the comic series, but the scale of actually staging that sequence for television is almost certainly beyond what the production could achieve. Expect Easter eggs and visual references to that imagery without the full realization of it. What the show can deliver, and what the promo strongly suggests it will deliver, is an emotionally honest conclusion to the story of Billy Butcher and John, Homelander. The relationship between those two men, the hatred and the strange mirroring quality of it, the fact that they were always going to end up destroying each other, that is the story The Boys was always telling beneath every satire and every spectacle. Blood and bone. If the finale honors that above all else, it will have done its job.
The Boys finale is almost here, and whatever it delivers, it is the end of something that genuinely changed what superhero storytelling was allowed to be. It made a genre that had become safe and comfortable into something sharp, dangerous, and uncomfortably honest about power and the people who hold it. Here at the Cinemaverse studio, Gautam will have the full finale breakdown up the moment the episode drops. Every death, every twist, every ending, we will cover all of it in full detail. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Who do you think survives? Who do you think dies? And how do you think Homelander finally meets his end? This is it. Blood and bone. See you on the other side.